Hello and welcome. Today we have an AWA Radiola 467 MA. This was quite filthy when I received it. It has come up very nicely. There's a bit of a mark on the top there, but that's not noticeable. The MA 467 and its brother and its sisters, the Hotpoint models, which you have seen on this channel already, are really simple radios to work on. They are a 4-valve set or 4-tube set for those outside of Australia. They perform really, really well. The 467 MA has a loop stick antenna in it. So if you want a radio to begin with, and why not, we all like these radios, otherwise you wouldn't be here. They are really dead simple. You can get all the parts for them quite easily. I wouldn't buy any parts from the likes of Jaycar or Ultronics because they don't have the ratings, but the electrolytic capacitors need to be 600 volts and the other ones need to be at least 400 volts rated. The resistors need to be at least 2 watts, otherwise you're going to fry your radio. You can pick up the valves fairly easily. These are very, very common sets. They came in 4 different colours, so you can have a whole collection like I have. Some of the colours other than this ivory are a bit rare, but they do come up from time to time. They have different button knobs on them, I should say. This one has the 2 small knobs. Some models have the 2 larger knobs there and a small knob in the middle. What else can I say about this radio? It performs really well. I've put it back together again, obviously. The reception here is pretty dire and there's a lot of electrical interference, but this one is cutting through it even on 3MP, which is about 40 or 50 kilometres away, the transmitter. So it is for the Mornington Peninsula. And we are quite north in the city. So the other thing you can get from Jaycar is these little globes. They die quite quickly, or well, not quickly, but if the set has been run for a very long time, these will burn out. And as I say, you can get them in Jaycar. That is about the only part you can get. The other problem with these radios is the speaker. This one is really, really good by these standards. I often get them with really bad speakers in them and have to replace them. The replacement is really quite easy. You can use Jaycar car speakers. They fit in quite well, although you may need to cut down the little spacer, the little wooden spacer in the bottom of the chassis. Okay, so let's get into it. There's not much to see really on this video. I had to do a lot of cleaning on this cabinet. It was obviously a kitchen radio, or it had been out in the garage for a long, long time. It was absolutely filthy inside. And the knobs were absolutely black. The speaker grill cloth, which is behind this, as such, I had to rinse that off and it came out absolutely black. I had to rinse it actually 4 times to actually get it to be semi-clean. It obviously been in the house with a smoker in it too. Okay, let's get into it. It was quite cheap. I've done quite a number of these radios over the years, so they must have been quite a popular set. This one, the red has faded a little bit, but you can still make it out. So it's got quite a few marks on it. It's got a hairline crack there. Looks like it was done many years ago. The tuning doesn't seem to work. This was actually taped up. I've taken the tape off because it is missing the nuts in there and a couple of screws down there, which I believe I have somewhere or other. There's a bit of staining on the case. I don't know whether you can see that. It's actually not staining, it's a heat mark where someone has put something against it, probably a cigarette or something like that. Or it's been in the kitchen. So many trucks today. Okay. Yep, the dial string is broken. So it's a little bit grubby inside, that's nothing. Has the paper caution and the valve layout. This is bent. Fix it after. It's pretty filthy. Must have been damp at some stage because it's corroded somewhat, but it'll clean up okay. It smells pretty bad of cigarettes. The knobs seem quite good. None of them are cracked in any way, although they're pretty filthy. Looks like it's been worked on at some stage. So these two electrolytics have been replaced. Not sure why they put this metal plate on the bottom of these. Must have been something to do with balance or something. Yuck. Don't worry, that's not on. That is pretty disgusting inside. Lot of fluff. Take that outside and clean it, I think. These are pretty easy to restring. I demonstrated that a few weeks ago with the hot point. This shares everything with the hot point. The only thing that's different is the model stamp on it. These are pretty good actually. Most of the ones I come across, they're either missing or they're broken. So we have the paper caps in there. That one's been replaced. Power cord has been snipped, although these have been stripped back. So someone probably tested this, couldn't get it to work, Being made in the mid-50s, these are pretty empty inside. That valve's been replaced. So it's the modern red writing on it. Speaker cloth could do with a good scrub. I'd say it'd been out in a workshop or a garage or something like that. The aerial is mounted strangely. I haven't seen one mounted this way before. They're usually a plastic bracket. These speakers are a disaster area. They're all this one doesn't seem to be that scratchy. Maybe all the dust saved it. Okay, so I'm going to plug it into the variac and the isolation transformer, of course, and give it a bit of a brush down outside, and I'll be back. Okay, it's all set up. So let's bring the variac up a little bit. So it's on 120 volts. Let's try that again. Would help if I had the variac plugged in. Okay, now that the variac is plugged into the isolation transformer, we'll try again. Okay, so it's switched on. $60 volts. $120. These globes have seen better days, I think. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. It's making a noise. It's trying. We have liftoff.
Maximise how much of the organisation's limited funding is spent on research.
Yeah, well, we've great to have you. Chris, hold the line. We'll send you to go and watch Melbourne City, or we'll send
Theatre.
Drink tube to drink. the Truck Life on SEN Track with Jason Bonington and Toby McKinnon. Brought to you by Garrard Horse and Hound. Best range at the lowest prices.
It's a very special week in Australasian harness racing. The Hunter Cup, the richest annual race on Victorian soil for Pacers, $500,000 on Saturday night. Our richest square gating series, the Great Southern Star on Friday night, also at Tabcorp Park, Melbourne. Michael, I was writing the articles, some about 47 this week for the Herald Sun, and just reflecting, we speak about legends of given sports.
I used to do a lot of stuff for Channel 31 here in Melbourne, which is the community station. And the trots used to try and invade our council meetings and take over the station. They ended up having Saturday nights as an exclusive deal. Brought in quite a bit of money, but they were pretty insistent. They wanted to take over the whole station and run trots 24 hours a day, thinking it was community activity. Yes. Gambling. Well, it's not the best performing radio that I've come across, but it's certainly not the worst. The healings seem to be pretty insensitive. Okay, so I'm going to replace the two electrolytics first, and we'll see how we go. Actually, that's not even glowing, and it's not even warm. So something is very good in this. So I've replaced the two main electrolytics, and let's see how it works now. Okay, I'll switch it on. It's plugged into the variac, of course. It's up at 180 volts on the variac, 167. Really must fix this so it reads current again. So that's up to 240. Okay.
We don't know what kind of a pen it is.
Working in lines, they're on 3AW693.
Real care.
Machine, here, real fair.
Защото на Сепенко собрано во 10 тома, кои што беа на македонски испечатени во далечната веќе 1972 година. Инако ова е прв дел од подолгиот разговор за творештото на овој маркантен човек кој целиот свој живот го посветил на собирањето на фолклорниот материјал и запишување на вкусната историја на македонците во 19-тиот век. Колека се ближиме до крајот.
Well, it's working quite well. The dim bulb isn't even warm. In fact, it's quite cold.
Тинејџерите на возраст од 16 и 17 години во Австралија ќе имаат можност да добијат бустер вакцина против COVID-19.
I think this is the best one I've heard so far of these radios in standard condition. Okay, so I'm going to change the power cord and do all the other capacitors in there, all the paper ones, and we'll be back. I've cleaned the tone control, the on-off switch, and the volume control. So it's sounding a little bit better. Obviously I can't play any music. Speaker still sounds rubbish, but it's better than nothing. I'm hoping this cloth will come off easily and rinse off cleanly. I'll have to go to the shop and get some new globes. So these are definitely burnt out. So the next thing to do is to re-string it. So I'll pause here and I'll be back. What I've done is had to tie two pieces together. I don't know whether you can see the knot in there. I'll trim that up after I've finished. So the first thing to do is to remove this. Making sure not to lose the spring. And the dial is just a hook type one, which is fine by me. So what I'll do is I'll lay it out to get the approximate length. Maybe not. I'll just go ahead and wind it, I think. So I'll put a little knot in this end and I'll hook this over. First I'll clean all the dust off. I may have to do this once or twice because I can't remember which way it goes. So I think it goes this way. So then I go 1, 2, 3, and around this lower one here. This is pretty awkward to do on camera, especially with all these tools around. Okay, underneath there. Through there. Get this end hooked on. Now comes the tricky bit. We have to undo this knot. Put a little mark where the spring goes. It's up. Then tie it. Then hopefully this could do with a little bit more tension in it. It's slipped a little bit. So I might be able to. This doesn't have any adjustments on it. Often they have 3 of these little cutouts so you can move the knot down and tighten it up. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's done, and it took quite a bit of tension on it, as you can see by the spring. I know there's not much contrast between the spring and the felt, but Yes, it's quite stretched. But it's still slipping a little bit. To lift it up. And it's not the most smooth mechanism either. Feels quite worn. But I'll unhook all this and give it a bit of oil, and then I'll be back. The next step is to mount the dial. Now I probably should clean this up quite a bit because it looks pretty bad, but this simply still not the smoothest of dials. This simply hooks onto there very simply. I'll also have to put a bit of glue onto that bit of felt there. So what I'm going to do is slowly try to peel this off very, very carefully. Although it feels like it's coming off quite easily. In fact, it is coming off quite easily. Often they just disintegrate. But this one has come off quite beautifully. The speaker is pretty good too. It's one of the better yellow speakers I've seen. In fact, it's probably the best. Absolutely no scraping or noise or binding, which is pretty surprising given the condition of the rest of the radio. So I'll rinse that out. This is a makeup brush which I pinched from someone or other when I used to do lots of photography. But it's so smooth and soft as opposed to the, can't find it now, oh yeah, there it is, as opposed to this one, and it's even softer than a toothbrush. So what I'm going to do now is do some more cleaning on it, clean all the valve seats out, wipe the valves off. I'm not going to replace them, even though some of them are pretty dark and pretty tired. Because this one is going up for sale soon. I'll also got to clean the case. So I'll do all that tomorrow and I'll be back. Sorry about the sound, but this is the onboard microphone of the small camera. I was just cleaning off the top of the valves and yeah. So this is what smoking does to you. If this is settled on the inside of a radio, imagine what it does to your lungs. So kiddies, don't do it.
You're listening to SEN Track. Be kept up to date with all the latest harness, greyhound and thoroughbred news right here on SEN Track.
Live around Australia on SEN Track. You're listening to Trackside.
Yeah, you most certainly are listening to Trackside on SEN.
K&D. 3MP.
Visit a Subaru Melbourne dealership and experience the BRZ for yourself. Now also open in Bundoora.
The Summer of Glory Carnival is on now with the running of the Great Southern Star today and Hunter Cup tomorrow.
3XY. Not sure what that is. Magic.
Already do on newborns. So this screening will mean earlier diagnosis and treatment, which paves the way for the 3 disorders to be added to that screening process.
RPH.
Pouring of personal messages and contact since last Saturday, when the 96-year-old patriarch died at the family home at Merricks on the morning.
Not sure what that fairly weak station was between Magic and MPH.
Our heroes are made at Kangan Institute. Visit kangan.edu.au or call 13TAFE. Eligibility
SBS.
criteria applies.
Oh.
That's not. It comes from others. The history of the Meyer family has been well chronicled, dating back to
ticking along. So when the produce does get out the door, it's in a market that's going to be valuable for it.
President of the Victorian Farmers
News Radio.
Trained by Tim Martin at Goulburn and is well in the market, the second favourite.
Sports station. I think it's SEN. Not sure what that is.
Our little Reuben. And did you as well, Andy?
No.
Oh, that's 3CR.
No, we were,
this
we
is
got through
3LO or
fantastic.
ABC Radio
But
Melbourne
a little bit
or
sunny?
whatever.
Yeah,
The
he caught
ABC
it too,
local
yeah.
station.
Oh, yeah.
131 444 to your phone for when you need
3AW.
not the sirens. For more information and for on.
Inside the apartment block,
Radio
rooms are blacked
National.
out and
So it's performing very, very well. I should also mention that Silicon Chip magazine in Australia has done a couple of articles on this series. There was one on the hot point back in 1997, and this one was featured in the year 2000. They are online, but only the first couple of pages. You have to actually download or buy the article. But kevinchant.com has the circuit diagrams, as does Radio Museum.